Okay, well, hello and good morning again, friends. Welcome to the continuation of our trips to and across the Alps. Apologies for the slight delay. We're still on OpenGL. I think I've turned down anti-aliasing a little bit to see if we could manage performance in heavy cloud. And you find us back here where we left off yesterday. Somebody's turned the jet round for us. Still relatively light, 283 kilos payload. We'll get fueled up, and then we are taking a very short trip to Moritz and Samedan airport. As I say in the description, I think it is the highest airport in Europe. So we're at Salzburg. There the elevation is 1,411 feet, and Samedan is 5,602. It's not the highest airport in Europe because I think Courchevel is higher, but I think it's the highest regular airport, if that makes sense, that can take relatively normal aircraft. If we're doing an approach to 03, it's a 4.49 degree descent, so that's going to be fun and interesting. The final approach fix is 11,800. So go figure. It's RMP guidance to a visual, and straight through the valley. Looks pretty interesting, to be honest. So hopefully the scenery will look good for that as well. Flight time. It's only about 40 minutes, 41 minutes. It's really quite quick. So we'll do all the performance calcs and everything on the ground here with estimates for when we arrive. If you are watching, as always, please say hi. It's a couple of people at least. I'm going to leave the frame counter up for the entire flight just to see how that gets on. Still using Volanta. That worked well yesterday. And we are on VATSIM, but there is nobody. No controllers online. Langham was online, but they've dropped off. So, with that in mind, let's fuel up the jet. As you can see there, we need actually quite a lot of fuel, 1,300 kilos. I've got my mandatory 30 minutes extra just in case I screw the approach up the first time. And especially with some of these mountainous airports, the go around can be particularly long and arduous. So all those lamps work. We should have about 800 something on board. Oh no, 626 is what we left off with, so 625. And we're going to ask for 1,300. So doubling what we've got at the moment. As you can see there, we should only need 327 kilos. There we go, we should only need 327 kilos. I think it's 5 minutes or 5 minutes or 5% contingency. It might be 3% actually. Alternate is Frankfurt, and that's an hour. It's further away than our destination. I'm not sure why Zurich isn't on there, due to the weather. Final reserve of 203, and that, of course, gives us 627. So our fuel that we started off with is our reserve fuel today. Minimum takeoff of 994. And we've got 245 extra for the 30 minutes. Entity, hello mate. See you. I think it's been a little while, I hope you're well. I'll take off fuel 1239, 54 for taxi. We might end up using about that for taxi. It's going to be about a 10-minute taxi because we're going down to take off on the runway that we landed on, which is preferred for departure anyway, because it's straight out through the valley with fewer obstructions. So 1,300 we've got. See what it says. Cockpit. Come to think of it, anti-aliasing doesn't look that bad. I suppose you can see in the distance it's a bit worse. You guys probably can't see that because of the letterboxing, but for me it looks a bit worse. That's a little bit more jaggy, but if it means that we get more 20 frames in clouds, we'll have to live with it till Vulkan gets sorted. So let's get the GPU on. We're at 2105 still, hasn't changed. We go 24.5, VIG's on, and interesting. Okay, so we've actually got 1302.
TOS system test, okay.
So 283 plus the M28 gives us 5783. Plus our 1302.
TCAS test, pass.
Gives us 7085 total weight. We're on GPU. Happy. So let's just run through the flow. On, out, auto. Jets can go onto auto. Leads can go all auto. Do the checks in a moment. Pumps off, auto, crossfeed off. Tested, belts off. All the anti-ice is off. Not going to check the lights. Come back to auto. Full free. Setup, flaps up, brakes on. Carrying out ECS is off, vent. Pop the emergency lights on. Leave the cabin lights off for the moment. And we can pop the nav lights on.
Fire, fire. Fire, fire.
So it's a check, you should be able to see more from this view.
Stall, stall.
Works.
Stall, stall.
Definitely not something we want to hear. Haven't heard it so far. Fingers crossed. So let's get the weather, shall we? And we'll get it off VATSIM. It is QNH1022. It's 15 degrees. Don't forget we are 1,000 feet field elevation, so we'll have to work out pressure altitude. We don't have to work out density altitude because the tables have pressure, have temperature on them. So we just need the pressure altitude, which is easy enough, which is what QNE is. So 0950 Zulu. Just give you a bit of a better view, shall I? There you go. 950 Zulu. It is variable at 3. 10k visibility. A few clouds at 3,300 feet. Scattered 13,000. That's above the aerodrome, don't forget, not above sea level. 15, dew point 5, QNH 1022. So we can set 1022. You can see standard there is giving us 1180. High pressure, so it reduces because elevation is 1411, so higher pressure would actually reduce that down, but we're still going to have to plan for 2000. And we're going to plan for, I think, a 7.2 departure because we're not going to burn 85 kilos of fuel, but so we'll plan for the worst case. And we'll see what we need. There is there are actually listed departures from Echo 2318, even a departure from Delta 1660, which would really save on some taxiing, which is almost halfway down the runway. We'll see if we can do that. Anyway, have I done So Rattenberg 3 Alpha. Our initial is 495365. These are all at or above. And the MSA is 11,000, so I'm going to set 11. Just to keep us on the safe side. I'm going to set 160 as a flap reminder. There we go, put the overlay on. Good, we've got Unicom on, nothing else to do. So let's get over here and load up the flight plan. So our route, as you can see there, maybe a Tango Tango, Rattenberg, then we're going direct NIGEB. Then we're on an airway. Zulu 408 to RONAG, however you want to say it, and then direct, and that's LSZS. Procedures, so approach runways, there's no arrivals into, there's no stars. We are going to take 03 by the looks of things, so let me just check the weather. 290, no, it's 030 at 6, so yeah, it is runway 03. And this is, let's have a look. Are we going to go via Pelad, or are we going to go straight to max 160 at Zulu Sierra 701? So Pelad will actually take us up and along here. We're going to be going to RONAG anyway, so I think it will, not a lot of difference doing that, probably be a lot easier to follow for the approach. So let's go via Pelad. The RVR is 5 kilometers. The decision altitude is 11,400 with a CDFA, and that's 5,798 above the field. That's for all categories. Up to C, D is not applicable. So, can I type it in here? Oh no, I can't. I can over here though. So I'm going to do that because otherwise it'll be grief. And we can select our departure. And Rattenberg 3 Alpha. Load that. Magic. Now you can see 380 initially, NIGEB 300, and then Tyrrell at 23. So we can pop those in. Oh, no we can't. So 40 miles and 8,000, we'll see how we get on. So that'll be interesting. It's 40 miles and another 40 miles. So we're going up and then coming straight down again, which is a little bit odd. I'm not going to argue with it. So that's our flight plan 33 out. And there you go, you can see it takes us over the Alps. So happy with that. Fuel 1302, start scribbling this all over the plan. Let's have a look at the performance. So, as I said, it's going to be sub 2 for departure. We'll do flap 1 if we can, for obstacle benefit. So, flap 1, dry runway it is, anti-ice off, we're not going to need it on. We go 2000, 72, and we've got 50 degrees, so we need 945 meters. And our speed's 103, 114. I appreciate you guys probably can't see that. 128. So the question for us is, we're probably not going to drop down into 6.8. The runway at Samedan is 1840. It's 6,000 feet, but don't forget it is quite a high airport. So let's have a look at the performance with flap 1, flap 3. .945 is absolutely plenty for departure here, so we can, delta is 1660, so even 945, even timesing that by 1.33 gives us 1256, which from delta is fine, and we could even go from Charlie Sierra. That gives us 1279. So I suppose we could go directly from Charlie / Sierra. So we can take a delta. It doesn't leave much, but don't forget that's with a safety factor on board. We still only 945, so happy to go from Charlie Sierra. Saves on the taxi. Let's have a look at the landing. So, I'm going to come back to that, because what I want to do is flap 3, anti-ice off, dry runway. Now, on arrival, the airport elevation is 5.6. The QNH on arrival is 1021. 1021, Gigabyte 1013. 8 times 30, 240, so the elevation 5602, take away that gives us 53, which doesn't really make much difference because we're just going to round up to 6,000 feet. We're going to assume it's 030 at 6, so we should have a headwind variable 340080, so we'll assume nil wind rather than tailwind, which would be worst case. At 7.2 with flap 3, we need 899 meters. We've got 1840, so absolute worst case, we can go on 7.2 performance. We should actually make 7. So flap 1, flap 3. Of course, if we looked at that, we couldn't make it. We'd then have to look at full flap landing. But I'm more than happy to. Maybe we should do full flap just because of where the taxiways are. You don't want to have to taxi all the way down to the end. So why don't we have a look at? Why don't I do them for both? So 7.2 at flap 1, flap 3. at 6.8 as well. So nil wind, 6,000 feet, gives us 899, 881, 863. Going back to flap 1, flap 3. Speeds we would be looking at 7.2. I've got to do this the wrong way around, haven't I? 117, 128, 114. 115, 114, 126, 125. And then 12, 10. So flap 3, flap full. Sorry, flap 2, flap full, because 2 is the approach setting. Nice protection. Engine off or on, but wing stab off. That one's a bit easier because we go so I'll do the distances in a moment. We'll be looking at 1, 2. 128, 111, 126, and is it 125? Because yes, it's exactly the same as before. So let's check those distances, and at least I've got scribbled down 3 weights. Flap full landing, and we said we were looking 6,000 feet, nil wind, 7.2. This is 873, 857, and 840, which is not a huge amount of difference. Flap full ideal for relatively steady wind if you've got crosswind or anything like that. The lower flap setting is better. So I've got those, that's fine. And we want to work out the fuels for each one of those, so 7200. Take away out 0 fuel weight, 5783 gives us 1417, and of course we've had to round up. .217 and 1017 for those weights. So that's the performance done. I'm going to go, maybe we'll end up in 6.6 territory. So I'm going to plan for flap 1, flap 3 initially at 7, give us 115, 26, 112. As we set for takeoff, we're looking at 103. 114, 28. Good. Was I right about 0 fuel? 282. Alright, I've rounded it up 1. Anyway, that's the performance done. It isn't that difficult. We will plan for a flat fall as long as the wind is relatively light and variable. Although the variability in X-plane can lead to a little bit of turbulence, which is odd to say the least. Doesn't help. Let's get the PFD sorted, set up as I like it. 1022, here we are. So set standby as well. I've got it down. And although we had a delayed start, they're looking pretty good. We'll be taking off early just because of the short taxi. We've only got to go. Let's have a look out here. There we go. We can take that intersection. There's Delta. And it doesn't look like a lot of runway, but that's all we need. So let's get the seatbelt sign on. Let's have a look at the radar, see if there's any around. It looks like we're the only ones at the airport. There's no ATC on. Let's give you a quiet old trip on Unicom. Good. Anything else? Right, runway heading 333. Got that set anyway. There's no nav aids apart from the DME, which we can't tune on the EX1000 anyway. The runway is over there to the left, and we're doing a 180, which is quite showing behind us. So that's it. Let's get ready to go. So pre-flight test completed, oxygen bottles pushed in, PAX auto, PAX is in auto, dispatch, we've got 1800, elect panel 27.5 on GPU 28, GPU is online, lead panel, all auto, fuel panel, pumps auto, cross feed off, hydraulic pump, solenoids on, pusher cutout is out, protections all off. I'm going to put windshield heating on, why not? Pressurization, so landing field elevation, have a look at that. 5,600 feet is correct. Engine fire panel, bottles off, bottles out. So shut-offs out, bottles off. Start, stop, both sets stop. Engine ignition auto, thrust levers are idle. Flaps and speed brake up, parking brake set. Let's get the door shut. Start thinking about getting the shot on the road. So there is nobody online. Let's just double check the weather. Still 1022. Not going to call for engine start, but of course you would call ATC for engine start. It is 10:31. Let's start up engine number 2. Of course you'd clear that with the ground crew. Be nice if we had that bit like better pushback. Tell the ground crew we're starting up. Tell them to disconnect GPU, etc. No beacon to put on this aircraft, remember? So I've got ident mapped, so I don't always need that. We can set it 11,000 because we've been cleared to start and cleared to depart. So we would tell the ground crew, disconnect the GPU. They would then come back and tell us that they had, although we would see it on this panel as well. And clear to start engine number 1. So we're already at 1200 feet. Delta P. 2 stable engines. ECU on both. And the after start checks. GPU is disconnected. 23, we've got 28.5. Emergency is pushed out. Pistol protection is tested, take off data set. Trims set neutral. all of them. Again, you guys probably can't see that very well. Flight controls, full forward, full aft, full left rudder, full right rudder. Flight controls, we've done speed brake, checked, doesn't enunciate though, ice protection not required, window heats, and flap 1 for departure. Flap 1 selected, indicated, set, call up, request taxi, Salzburg traffic, Ascot 1902 taxiing, holding point Charlie runway 33 via Lima, Salzburg traffic. Don't think there's anybody around. No, there isn't. No, it's just us. So, lights on, brakes off, go forward and left. Just double check those brakes, they work. Try and use minimal thrust to get going. Check clear left and right, never mind. Easy to do in reality, you do it without even thinking. Could be straight ahead, then a left turn after departure above 4,900. What leg is that? Don't know, can't see. There are noise monitoring points as well, you'll have to worry about. Still a pretty good view.
Takeoff. Okay.
Takeoff config checked. Fuel leg system is clear. Signs. Get ready for takeoff. Damper is off. Ice protection is not required. ATR doesn't go green. It should. Max advised. And it's just lights and transponder, so we can do those now. Actively ready to go. Here is Charlie. Salzburg traffic, Ascot 1902, lining up and taking off, runway 33. Not sure it matters, nobody knows what departure we're on. Not like at Northolt where if we were going to Brooklands Park for instance and somebody was going
approaching
to Compton,
15.
It's useful to know so that you can do a parallel takeoff. Nothing seen. Nothing seen on TCAS either. So correct runway, correct intersection, performance is good.
On runway 33.
Got a lock with the nose wheel steering. It is 10:37. We've got 1285, 284. Let's go. Now, Toga, got a full rudder in the airplane. Need the airflow over the tail. Rotate, go, add ample, positive rate, gear up, aiming for 130 initially. It's a lot of trim to get us in there that's just because I was holding down the trimmer. Getting yaw damper on. Autopilot's on. Come back to climb thrust. Go nav. Won't go nav. Airplane didn't like that. Side shot didn't help either. Anyway, gear up, flaps up. Let's go flight level change. Accelerate the airplane. Let's get us heading at least back, and then I'll reactivate the legs. Cabin is pressurizing. To take the gear up, flaps up, yaw dampers on. Max climb thrust we've got. Let's keep edging the speed up. Pressurization, the airplane is pressurizing. Go to down cruise 3.8. Let's go straight up to 3.8. Set flight level. So I'm not too fussed about getting straight back on track because the terrain around here is not terrible. Engine anti-ice is coming on. Clouds aren't hammering the GPU as much. Go 225, S climb. So seatbelt sign's still on. That just allows, I think, the Wi-Fi or whatever it is. So let's see if we can activate a different leg. I think we need to do the direct 2. Now I thought that should work. So let's go direct. To nav. Above 10, lights off, pressurization, cabin still climbing steady. 225, back en route. So I'm pretty sure there is a way to intercept the leg rather than go direct to. But yeah, we just go direct at the moment. Like I said, terrain wise we're still climbing. This area out here is nice and flat. Got some VATSIM traffic ahead. See them there. We're also sharp on the X-plane map as well. These guys are no doubt on. No, they must be going direct rather than on airways. Ortho makes a big difference. There we are, overhead turning. That's Whiskey Sierra 617. We only have to be above 6.5 there. So you can go all the way through that. Should be talking to Vienna, but nobody's online. There we go. I'll wait until we get to the end of the star to update the docs. So we took off this early. I'm going to use 18 kilos for start and taxi. There are the Alps. This isn't UHD mesh, this is just the mesh that Ortho 4XP will generate, which I believe is just as good. Certainly see it gives some of the cloud, might not be ideal, but it certainly gives correct, grassland in the valleys, etc. Bit of a headwind, bit of a crosswind as well. Passing 200. See the cabins climbing steadily. Cabins at 4.3 and our landing field elevation is going to be higher than that, so it's not going to have a lot to lose. Get the engine anti-ice off now around the clouds. That should improve the rate of climb slightly. You can definitely see, look at OpenGL flitting between 30 and 45 frames a second. Very erratic. But as long as we don't drop below 20, I have to take a hit on anti-aliasing, I can live with that. So on arrival, not a lot to say about that, other than it's a visual approach with RMP guidance, which is why the minima is so high. As long as we've got no clouds below 6,000 feet on arrival, which could be interesting because it's broken at 5.5. Transition levels flight level 170. Broken is the ceiling, and that doesn't mean that we wouldn't be allowed to commence the approach. But we are going to need to be in one of those gaps. Because our DA is, our DH is almost 5,800, so we could be 300 foot of cloud to go. In fairness, we could potentially bust that and be cheeky. Let's have a look at any of the other approaches. I don't think any of the other minimum are better. RMP for 2.1. Oh no, RMP for 2.1 does take you down, and we could arguably take something of a tailwind. Can we circle off that, or that just gets you to a visual? Circling off this would be interesting, to say the least. In theory, you could circle slightly to the north, clear of terrain, so we do need to use that to break cloud. It's going to be interesting though. Anyway, 11,400 is our minimums. Try it once, I think. Really? It only goes up to 10. Not sure that's good enough. Is that a bug or is that a real thing? Oh well. Like I said, I don't know the G1000 or the X1000 either for that matter. There you go, you can see the Alps ahead of us. You can see there's the missed approach hold. We're going to be going out over this way to come in like that. I did say it wasn't that not that far a sector. But you can certainly see the clouds. course we can always go to the hold, figure out what we're going to do from there. So we'll try once. Hold is the same for both, and we can leave the hold and go in. And we can certainly take the the performance hit with a 10 knot tailwind. Although I don't think it is, it was 300 at 6, so we can do the performance for 10 knot. Be alright, half bank, cabin outs starting to level off. Now NIGEB is 30,000, so we stop at 3.4. Oh no, I suppose we will. We'll get there, but then we're starting to descend here. Still climbing 0.6. And then it's effectively 7.74 on the cruise. So 1017, we're at 6.8 already, so yes, I should have done better with the performance because we could end up down at 6.6. Which would be 817. So Ramberg, we're overhead at 50, 9 minutes early. Why don't we stop at 3.6? Just because it's only going to be a 4-minute cruise otherwise. It takes us 3 minutes to get that high. Oh, I'll tell you what we did need to do for PNAV. Go. Let's try that. And 7.4, leaving climb, because it is relatively slow to accelerate. So RMP for both runways, there are no nav aids. Two minutes. So let's set 300 on VNav. With any luck, we're going to maintain decimal 7.4. 320. So might as well set that. Come back on the power now as well. Nav's just come alive. So LSGG, where is that? It's only ground. Geneva. It's not our alternate, but we could end up there. The CSC being slow. Gonna come off in a minute anyway. See those mountains ahead of us. So the MSA is to the north and northwest 13,500, to the south and southeast 15,500. There is VNAV. Kill CSC. Looks like it's getting a little bit bumpy already. Cloud. So 1021 is now scattered at 5,000, broken at 65, 320, 10. It's not a tailwind, we're alright. So let's set 1021 as a reminder. So there's our 300. Halfback can come off. Descend again. So 11.4. Actually, I wonder. Still VNAV. Down we go. I wonder if for the approach. Say 10,000. No, we can't go any higher than that. So let's use flap full. I'm going to update the speeds for 6.8 because 017, we're well below that. So we're going to do flap full. It's going to give us 109, 109, 125. Just saves looking it up if you've scribbled them down beforehand. Want to sit down, get ready. So the traffic ahead of us there is Speedbird 64, they are Heathrow to somewhere in Greece. We look like we're the only one inbound, so we'll make calls but not worry too much about them. Leaving this as an idle send. What did we have it set to? 3.5. Though, as you can see there, we've got a pretty strong headwind. So Pelad is max 240, 16,000. It's quite difficult to read on these charts. There is a hold that you could enter, but then it's down to 13,000. Now checked. 16 is still above the MSA, so I'm going to set 16. And then it's 16. See, Pelad is over there. Show about flickering cloud textures. Let's pause the immersion a bit. Except when you're too busy watching. Too busy flying the aeroplane to notice. So approach briefing complete. You know that our minimums are wrong. Landing data has been set, windshield heaters on. Signs are on. Ice protection as required. Nothing yet. We will hear as we go through the clouds. So we'll get to RONAG. Activate the approach. I have to double tap it to get to Pelad direct, I think. Like I said, flap 2, flap full approach. Forget that. We don't need it, but we might as well stop that a little bit quicker. I mean, 40 versus 863. It's not a huge amount of difference, to be honest. That's the difference, 5 knots can make or so, I guess. And that's only 1 knot slower, that's why. Weird. So here we are over RONAG, Samedan traffic, Ascot 1902, flight level 230 overhead of RONAG. RMP approach runway 03, Samedan traffic. So let's activate that. Oh, it did go direct, that's good. VNAV is alive, VNAV is armed, 50 seconds to go. A little bit aggressive. See the mountains poking through the clouds. There we are, there's the runway, so we're going to come down and through this valley. Also obviously coming this way, but due to the topography there's nothing other than the RNAV. So there's VNAV. Now we're max 240 at Pelad. Transition level was 17,000, wasn't it? 1021, transition level 170. So, all set. Zero 21. Average is 10. 320 10. Scattered at 5,000. Don't forget, scattered isn't a ceiling. Broken or overcast is. Clouds thinning a bit, but it's at 5,000. We'll be at almost 5.8, 800 foot cloud potentially. So I think what I will do is set 11.4. Seems we don't have the minimums call. 2 minutes to go. We've still got a little bit of speed to lose. Max 160 over here, so we can still scream round here. I suppose if we had a completely idle path descent, that makes it a bit more difficult to lose the speed. Whereas we've got a little bit of energy to play with here. So next one, 13 over here. You can see that they're all selected. 12.4 at 701 and max 160. And there's the FAF 11.8. There's the missed approach point. And then the missed approach is up to 14. Seconds to go, we've just about hit speed, which is not bad. we go, overhead, max 240, 16. Let it come back to 220. Ooh. GPU working hard there. Maybe it's the synthetic vision. So much for getting the graphics under control. Phenom's armed, frame rate dying. CSC for a little bit of help. Ah, it says we're too high, that's interesting. Time for a dirty dive. .4 is the next restriction. There goes the frame rate. Engine anti-ice not checked. Get booted off in a moment. We've got 160, we've got 3 minutes to get there, so we'll start bringing it back. So, altitude is set, cross-checked. DA is incorrect. Fuel auto cross feeds off. External lights. Quiet just yet. Signs all on. Packs advised. We've got about 5 minutes to go. Just pops out cloud. Just about to pop back in. Down at 12.4. .702 at 11.8. clouds. It's looking pretty impressive, isn't it? Four miles to go, 160, let's bring the speed back. Flap 1. Still 1021. Scattered at 5, that's these guys. Broken at 6.5. And we're going to need 11.8 set. And F plus V. And we got a G. Nice condition. Wing stab on. There's the valley, heading down. Vertical guidance armed. There we go. It's alive. To flap 2. It's a little bit steep. And we'll set 11.4. Actually, maybe 10.4 is better. Get the lights on. That'll give us a warning. There we go. We are visual. And we should remain visual. There we go, so that was to placate my minimums. So with that in mind, I'll set 6. We are visual. Now still 6.6. Yeah, it is pretty good as an entity. Shame about the frame rate. It's come back to normal now, but those clouds were definitely hammering it. And there you go, you can see the runway ahead. You can see why there's no ILS. Why didn't they just build it pointing this way? Vertical guidance certainly helps. At minimums is wrong, of course. Okay. Get the anti-ice off. I think we need to get the gear down. We are slightly letting the speed creep up. But bearing in mind we'll be VREF at about 109. So 705 is 2 miles from the runway. That is the missed approach point. Samedan traffic Ascot 1902, approximately 4 mile final, runway 03. Or maybe it's 6, whatever. Certainly no traffic seen.
Autopilot.
So AP's off, mist is 14. Set. A little bit bumpy with the wind, so we'll carry through the extra speed. Flap full, gear down 3 green. Landing flap set. Full damper is off. Speed brake is up, go around altitude set, and mass protection is not required. How did we manage to drift off? It's a straight line all the way in. As you can see, pretty steep approach. Being pretty poorly flown at the moment.
500.
Approaching 03.
400.
Of course, don't forget, that's always going to be a visual approach.
300.
More of a strong crosswind than I thought.
200. 100.
'That'll do, bit of a thump.
4,000 feet remaining.
Actually a bit of a handful to keep. Oh. That's me getting the nose wheel steering back on. I think we're going to have to go down and backtrack. Spoiler's turned itself up. Go figure. Oh no, we can vacate right. There should be a taxiway over here. Not the best of approaches. Like I say, I'm sure you've seen, I really am struggling with directional control. This looks a bit narrow. Samedan traffic Ascot 1902, runway vacated. let's reset. So acceptable landing here was a bit of a thump. Across the thrust field, okay, rate of descent was pretty high. But it is a steep approach. Probably should have briefed that. And the fact that we drifted off course didn't particularly matter because you were never going to be IMC at that point anyway. So we're going to taxi all the way down and do a right. Not that right, because that's just right in the middle of the airfield. But the next one, that should take us across, parking up over by the tower. There you go. Don't know why the cabin rate's still at 10 feet a minute, but delta's on 0, so we can dump that. Samedan travelling has got 1902, crossing runway 03 to the terminal.
Approaching 03.
Teeny tiny little airport, this place. Good effort with the buildings. Find somewhere to park. Guess we'll park up just on the left here. I don't know if they're parking on the right, maybe. Wow. Some good effort. Sports cars driving about the place. There we go, on blocks at 11:29 Zulu. And we've shut down with 872 on board. Flight complete. Welcome to Samedan for Moritz. Look outside, shall we? It's not bad little airport. And that's a hell of a lot of terrain. Guess that's the railway line going up to Moritz, or maybe Moritz is over there, I'm not sure. It's a golf course. Anyway, welcome. Let's have a look at that landing because it wasn't fantastic. I haven't opened the door, have I? Oh yeah, that disconnects us from VATSIM, which is fine. Like I say, bit of a thump. And even with nose wheel steering on, it was surprisingly difficult to keep the airplane straight. Genuinely not me, maybe there was a gust. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining. Not sure where we'll be off to next. And yeah, it is a really good aircraft. It's not as capable as you might think, I suppose, if you fill it up. The range isn't as spectacular as others, but it's a great little bit of kit. And as you saw, I don't know if you did see Entity, but certainly going into Shoreham somewhere relatively short, even with a bit of payload and low fuel, you might need to leave relatively light and then refuel somewhere bigger. But the fact that you can get in and out of some very small places is quite cool in itself. There we go, let's get everything turned off, have a look from the outside. That's the airplane pretty much secured. We should pop those off. And those, do those after landing. Actually, oh no. There she is, tucked up, grab your bags and go. So yeah, even relatively short runways are accessible. And like I say, it's a good bit of kit, and Aerobask have done a really good job. Maybe I'll try disabling the cabin in flight next time, or going cloud, see if that helps with the GPU. Probably won't. But that's not the aircraft's fault, that is X-Plane and Vulcan being not very good. So yeah, what can I say? I like it. I don't know how much it is, I forget how much it is, maybe $45. It's a great little bit of kit. Get it in and out of some small places. Of course you can get the 737 in and out of here. It's a bit of a challenge, but certainly this has got capability to go lots of other places. So like I say, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I don't know where we're going next. Might not be today, might be tomorrow, but thanks for joining. Until next time, see you around, and bye for now.